Clearly, Democrats lost terribly in the worst way ever.
We should be focused like a laser on delivering the basics and ignore the fashionable nonsense. I felt like the Biden administration did make fatal miscalculations that cost us the election. Abolishing prisons or abolishing the police or abolishing ICE. Those ideas do not come from working class people from places like the Bronx. Those ideas typically come from activists and academics who are out of touch with working class people.
Morning Joe has had quite the day. First, a Democrat congressman from New York leaves Joe and Mika stunned as he destroys Biden and the Democrat Party for their idiotic, woke, virtue-signaling policies that caused the Democrats to get destroyed in the election. This guy drops nuke after nuke on Biden and the Democrats, and Joe and Mika are speechless. And then they invite some Democrat podcasters onto the show, and they proceed to lay into Biden, Kamala, and the Democrats. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but where I want to start with this video is the Democrat congressman calling out Democrats for being horrendously out of touch and failing to understand the absolute basics of what people expect from their government. Watch.
Well, look, for me, the Democratic Party should have a simple mission, which is to lower costs, lower crime rates, make government work for the people rather than for the interest groups. And we have to recognize that working class voters of color are largely in the center on issues like public safety and border security. And we have to meet them where they are. If we swing the pendulum too far to the left, we risk alienating working class people of color. And working class people of color are no different from most Americans. Most Americans want the basics, an affordable cost of living, safe streets, secure borders. And so we should be focused like a laser on delivering the basics and ignore the fashionable nonsense that has taken hold in our politics.
Let me start by saying that is the nicest thing that this congressman says about the Democrats this entire segment, so brace yourself. But to what he said, it's what I've been screaming. It's what everybody's been screaming. Anything to do with the Democrat Party is void of common sense. The Democrats chose to disregard everything people care about and instead pursue what he called the fashionable issues. And the crisis with the fires in Los Angeles is a perfect example to look at. All that tax money, and they spend it on prioritizing the dignity of homeless people, on housing and giving free health care to illegal immigrants, on giving drug addicts clean needles and crack pipes so they can get high safely. Diversity initiatives. The city of LA removed all U-turn signs because the trans community said they were transphobic. And what do they get for all their noble pursuits? A fire department that doesn't work. Democrat policies were, oh, no human should be illegal, let's just open the borders. You know what would make crime-ridden communities feel more safe? If we removed all the cops from there, because the police are the real problem. Oh, we should let our kids play around with their gender and inject themselves with puberty blockers and hormones and get irreversible surgeries, because we want our kids to be happy. Now, this is where he directly blames Joe Biden and his ridiculously out-of-touch policies for the Democrats' horrendous loss.
When you say swing too far to the left, what do you mean specifically?
Well, in the case of the 2024 election, it was immigration. As I've said repeatedly, I felt the president did too little, too late to secure the border, and we paid a heavy price in the 2024 election. For me, both inflation and immigration were the leading causes of Democratic defeat in 2024. And in the case of immigration, I felt like the Biden administration did make fatal miscalculations that cost us the election.
But let Kamala Harris tell it, there's nothing she would have done differently. And they're surprised that when people heard that, they said, oh God, these people just ruined my life the past 4 years. And now their candidate is saying, we're not going to do anything differently. Till his last day in office, Joe Biden was adamant that he had done such wonderful things for the country. If the rest of the party was talking like this guy, they might have had a better chance. But the reason they all couldn't speak out against Joe Biden and his failures is because they were all complicit. They were the same ones telling us up and down for 3.5 years, the man was fine, the man was in charge, the man was sharp, his policies were great, inflation was transitory, the border wasn't an issue. So nobody in the media nor the Democrat Party could call this out without also exposing themselves for covering up a massive scandal. Now, this is when he just drops a nuke on the Democrat Party, leaving them in ashes and also leaving everybody on Morning Joe speechless. Watch.
Yeah, so I spoke to an activist who was advocating for abolishing the police, and I said, let me get this straight. You want to conduct a social experiment on the lowest income communities of color in places like the Bronx. So what happens if that experiment goes badly? What happens if it leads to an outbreak of gun violence and gang violence and youth violence? Like, you live in a wealthy white neighborhood in an ivory tower, insulated from the consequences of your utopianism, whereas my constituents are poor people of color who have to live with high costs and high crime rates. And we should be speaking to the lived experience of people of color. You know, when you consider some of the most utopian ideas in politics, whether it's abolishing prisons or abolishing the police or abolishing ICE, those ideas do not come from working class people from places like the Bronx. Those ideas typically come from activists and academics who are out of touch with working class people.
Oh my God, can everybody please smash the like button if you enjoyed that epic takedown? I mean, this is what we're always criticizing the ladies of The View for. All of these fairy tale Looney Tunes ideas that they have sound more like a philosophical conversation that two professors might be having, not real world policies that you plan to implement. Sunny Hostin loves to talk about how racist everything is while she lives in her 10-bed, 10-bath New York mansion. Whoopi Goldberg loves to say that she's working class because she works every day on The View and wouldn't do it if she didn't need to, while making an $8 million a year salary. People in Martha's Vineyard loved the idea of open borders until the migrants were in their neighborhoods. Democrats love to talk about defund the police for regular people while they have their private security. Democrats love to talk about how a border wall was racist, but live in gated communities. Have any of these rich liberals talked to anybody in the inner cities that are in the midst of all of this gun violence? If they would feel more safe and secure if the police were just taken off the street. No, they've just convinced themselves that police are bad and racist because it's a fashionable talking point in liberal high society. Democrats will institute these soft on crime policies and then combine it with defunding the police and are surprised when everything descends into chaos. They think they're college educated so they know better. So they make decisions that they're convincing themselves come from a place of empathy and compassion without once asking the people who these policies will affect how they feel about them. Now let's get to the second part of this Morning Joe episode where they invite on some Democrat podcasters who again proceed to kick the Democrats after the congressman just slammed them down. But here's Joe Scarborough saying that the Democrat brand has made itself joyless and unhappy. I agree. Watch.
I was dying laughing because you were describing the difference between the Democratic Party culturally and the Republican Party. As far as, well, by the way, just like the Republican Party is like, yeah, let's go to Madison Square Garden. Yeah, let's go to boxing. Let's do this. And it's so interesting because when, other than of course Barack Obama, when we Republicans would look at Democrats and be like, God, they're just joyless. And it's like, it shouldn't be this easy. They are such downers. And I listened to y'all's podcast and I just started dying laughing. You guys nailed it. It's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah. If we want to be a party that can win elections, we have to be a party people would want to attend.
Yeah, Democrats seem insufferable. They hate everything. They complain about everything. They think they're oppressed. They think everything's unjust. They glorify mental health. They glorify obesity. They reject the idea of a family. They certainly reject God. And you'd expect these people to be happy? Yeah, the Democrats are going to keep losing support if the requirement to be part of your movement is you have to be a giant stick in the mud. Now listen to them say how identity politics is dead and Democrats' racist strategy of putting everybody who looks the same into a box and assuming they all want the same things is over. Watch.
Assuming people are going to vote for us based on their identity is a loser, and it has always been a loser, and it shouldn't be an assumption anymore. You have to make a case to people, and people without a college degree are now voting together more than, whether they're black, Latino, white. And so we're starting to see that more. So Democrats have to speak to that. And part of it is speaking that language, right? Which is just normal people language. How you talk to people at a bar, at a restaurant, in your own life. Like that's the way that people need to talk right now. And Democrats haven't done that, which is why working class people feel so alienated, or one reason at least.
And by the way, it's not about doing some kind of an impression of Gen Z. It's not about saying brat or whatever the hell people were trying to say.
I swear, when Kamala Harris brought out Meg Thee Stallion to twerk in front of an arena in Atlanta, that had to be the most racist moment in political history. Maybe second to Joe Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black. Every black person should have seen what Kamala did as her saying, you're too stupid to understand my message. You're too stupid for me to explain to you what I'm going to do. So instead, I know you guys like twerking and ass shaking, so here's some for you. Now can I get your vote? And it makes it even worse because she was trying to run on the platform of being a black woman, being relatable to the black community. And we all knew that she had no cultural experience at all with what the typical American black person goes through. But her bringing Meg Thee Stallion out to twerk was her basically asking her advisors, the black people, they like that, right? Okay, good, that's gonna work. Democrats thought Hispanics would be in favor of illegal immigration because, what, they all speak Spanish? Somehow American Hispanics don't like keeping their good jobs and not getting undercut by illegal labor. They don't like safe streets that aren't flooded with illegals who have nowhere to go. They don't like being able to rely on the social services of their cities and state because all the money is being given to illegal immigrants. Like, the Democrats were just so out of touch. It's almost hard to be that out of touch. Now, here's where they take a shot at Kamala, but really the Democrats more broadly, for being these inauthentic, fake, phony, empty suits.
And you see a Trump rally, and people are having a good time at that event, and Trump is mixing it up. You talked about how do we take on misinformation? How about somebody a Democrat that's doing 2-hour press conferences, that's going everywhere, that can mix it up with everyone, that can go on Joe Rogan, that seems like a good hang, and
doesn't talk like a press release.
And doesn't
everyone already? Everyone's putting their statements out on social media. Write your own posts. Do some press conferences. Sit and talk to people. Go on podcasts. Don't talk like you're just reading your pollster's memo. It's crazy.
And hey, I know everybody liked the West Wing, and everybody thinks of speeches as Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural. Everybody writes their statements like they're crossing the Delaware. They write them like they're doing their own drafts of the Federalist Papers. It's enough. It's not working. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares what we have to say about anything. Donald, we have lost so much credibility with people, and we haven't gotten ability to break through to people.
Besides a million other valid reasons, that was certainly one of the reasons people hated Kamala Harris. She couldn't just speak regularly. She could never answer a question. Everything was a long, convoluted word salad. It sounded like every word was selected to maximize the amount of confusion. She never once spoke as if she was just a real person having a guards down conversation. And the reason all the Democrats were like that is very simple. They made their entire platform about being respectful and upstanding and compassionate and empathetic. And they're none of those things. So of course they couldn't be who they are because it would go directly against the message and the narrative that they're trying to present. Only Kamala Harris could have one set of policies 4 years ago, and then now everything she believes in is the complete opposite of what she used to. And she feels like she doesn't have to explain to you why. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.